The rain poured as if the sky had finally grown tired of holding itself together. Inside the small, dimly lit roadside restaurant, people huddled around steaming plates and warm tea. No one noticed the woman near the door at first, soaked, shivering, clutching the hand of a tiny girl whose clothes were just as drenched. The mother tried to blend into the background, lowering her head each time someone glanced in her direction. She stood there for several minutes before quietly turning around, ready to leave with nothing but the weight of her exhaustion. But just as she took the first step toward the exit, a man at the corner table caught sight of the little girl. She was not looking at the door. She was staring at his plate, a simple serving of rice and curry, but to her hungry eyes it must have looked like a feast. And in that single moment, something inside him shifted. If you believe in kindness, second chances in humanity, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps stories like this reach more hearts. The man didn't know why he noticed her. Perhaps it was the way the child's eyes lingered too long, the way her lips parted as if imagining the taste of the food she couldn't have. Or perhaps it was the mother's trembling hands, not from the cold, but from the kind of fear he had seen only in people who had learned to survive by shrinking themselves. She tugged gently at her daughter's arm, whispering something, urging her to walk faster. But the girl was too little to fully understand and kept glancing back. The man, Ayan, had been lost in his own world before this moment, a world filled with deadlines, regrets, and a loneliness he rarely admitted to himself. But the sight of that child stopped him completely. He set his spoon down and watched as the woman tried to push open the restaurant door. Her shoulders were slumped, heavy with defeat. She looked like someone who had spent a long time pretending to be strong for the sake of someone even smaller. And for reasons he could not yet explain, he stood up. He was not a man who usually interfered in other people's lives. In fact, he avoided it. Years of carefully keeping distance had become his safety shield. But something told him that if he didn't move now, he would regret it long after he stepped outside. He approached them slowly, not wanting to startle them. The mother turned, alarmed, pulling the girl slightly behind her. Her eyes held the kind of caution that comes from being judged too many times, from being turned away, from being looked at as if she didn't belong anywhere. Ayan didn't ask why they were there. He didn't ask why they were wet, or hungry, or alone. He simply pointed gently to an empty table near the wall and said they should sit. The mother looked at him as if he had offered her something far more valuable than a meal, as if he had offered her dignity. She hesitated, perhaps unsure whether she could trust him, or whether accepting kindness would make her appear weak. But then she looked down at her daughter, whose tired eyes still glimmered with hope, and she nodded. They sat cautiously, almost apologetically, as though they feared taking up space. Ayan returned to the counter and ordered fresh food for them, insisting it be warm and filling. When the plates arrived, the little girl's fingers twitched with excitement, but she kept glancing at her mother for permission. The mother exhaled, a breath carrying both relief and pain, and guided her daughter's hands to the food. The girl ate with the quiet eagerness of someone who didn't want to draw attention to her hunger, but couldn't hide the joy of finally tasting something comforting. The mother didn't touch her own plate at first. She watched her daughter eat, her eyes shining with a mixture of gratitude and guilt. Guilt for needing help. Guilt for not being able to provide. Guilt that probably had been eating away at her long before tonight. Ayan gently encouraged her to eat, nodding toward the food with a soft expression that told her she didn't need to be ashamed. For a moment, she allowed herself to breathe. It was only after several minutes, when warmth returned to their bodies and the restaurant no longer felt intimidating, that Ayan finally spoke in a quiet voice. He didn't ask invasive questions. He didn't interrogate her like so many others. He simply asked if she was all right. Her answer came in fragments, as though each word had to wrestle its way out of her chest. She was a widow, she said. Life had changed overnight after her husband passed away, the kind of sudden shift that made the ground disappear beneath your feet. She had no family close by, no stable job, and nowhere to go except wherever the next day allowed her to reach. She had come to the restaurant not to eat, but to ask if she could wait inside until the rain stopped. She never expected food. She never expected anyone to notice her daughter's hunger. She never expected kindness. Ayan listened without interrupting. He felt a pang in his heart as she spoke, not because her story was unfamiliar, but because it was painfully familiar. His own mother had once stood like that, alone, proud and terrified, trying to protect him after his father abandoned them. He remembered her refusing help even when she desperately needed it, because people made her feel like accepting kindness meant accepting pity. That memory rose inside him so suddenly that he almost winced. He hadn't thought about it in years. The restaurant had grown quieter as the rain continued outside. The owner watched from afar, his earlier irritation replaced by a subtle respect for Ayan's gesture. Some people at other tables observed curiously, while others pretended not to see. But the mother didn't seem to notice anyone. She focused only on her daughter, who was finally full and leaning against her side. Ayan didn't want the night to end with them stepping back into the cold uncertainty that waited outside. He didn't want the little girl to shiver again. And he didn't want the mother to feel like this small moment of kindness was temporary. But he also knew he couldn't force anything. So he offered something simple, a hot tea, and the chance for them to sit until the storm passed. She accepted, this time with eyes that held less fear. As they sipped tea, Ayan found himself observing every detail. The girl rubbing her tiny hands together. The mother brushing wet strands of hair from her daughter's forehead. The way she kept thanking him softly, even though he assured her she didn't need to. It struck him how invisible people like them often became, in a world too busy to notice suffering unless it was loud. This woman had tried to leave quietly, hoping not to disturb anyone, even though her quiet struggle screamed louder than she ever could. As the rain slowed, Ayan sensed her preparing to leave again, quietly, carefully, as if worried she had overstayed her welcome. But something inside him pushed against that idea. He took out his wallet, paused, and then put it back. He knew giving money directly might make her uncomfortable. Instead, he asked her if she had a place to stay tonight. She hesitated. And in that hesitation, the truth revealed itself. She didn't. The little girl was beginning to fall asleep, her head resting against her mother's arm. The thought of them wandering into the cold night carved a painful heaviness into Ayan's chest. So he offered another possibility. A nearby shelter he knew well, one he volunteered at occasionally. It was safe, warm, and welcoming. They had beds, meals, and support for single mothers. He could take them there. For the first time that night, the mother's guarded expression broke. Not into relief, not yet, but into something closer to disbelief. She looked down at her daughter, then at the rain, then back at Ayan. It was clear she wanted to trust him, but life had taught her to be careful. Still, the exhaustion in her eyes revealed how desperately she needed this chance. Eventually, she nodded. The walk to the shelter was quiet, but not the heavy silence from before. The little girl, half asleep in her mother's arms, whispered that the night smelled like new rain and warm food. It was such a pure, innocent observation that Ayan's heart tightened. The shelter staff welcomed them warmly, offering clean clothes, towels, and a room for the night. The mother kept thanking Ayan, but he simply told her he was glad she came. He didn't stay long. He left only after seeing the little girl tucked into a warm bed and the mother sitting nearby, her shoulders finally easing. As he stepped outside, he felt something inside him shift again, something long forgotten. He had spent years hiding from his own past, avoiding anything that reminded him of his mother's struggles. But tonight had awakened something he thought he had lost: the desire to help, to connect, to care. Over the next few days, Ayan visited the shelter often, not out of obligation, but because he genuinely cared. The mother, whose name he learned was Hana, slowly began to trust him. Her daughter, Zara, grew comfortable around him, smiling whenever he brought her small storybooks. Through small conversations, shared tea, and quiet moments, Ayan learned about their hardships, their resilience, and the dreams Hana still held beneath all her fear. He helped her find a job at a nearby cafe. He arranged childcare at the shelter. Slowly, Hana began rebuilding her life, step by careful step. She transformed from a woman trying to leave quietly into a woman learning to stand tall again. And her daughter, who once stared hungrily at a stranger's plate, now laughed freely, her cheeks round and healthy. Ayan didn't realize how deeply they had become a part of his life until one evening, months later, when he walked into the shelter and Zara ran up to him with open arms. It was a simple gesture, but it felt like the kind of acceptance he had been searching for without even knowing it. And in that moment, he understood something profound. Sometimes, the quietest people carry the loudest stories, stories waiting to be seen, heard, and helped, if only someone cared enough to notice them. If this story touched your heart even a little, please don't forget to like the video, leave a comment, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more meaningful stories for you. Special request: before you leave, comment below what part of the story moved you the most.